Well, we all know that it's hard to make it in the Bay. The housing shortage in California is pushing many out.
New data shows how far behind the Golden State is when it comes to building new homes.
But a report by the Census Bureau shows California is approving new housing permits at a much lower rate than most of the other states.
The California dream is unraveling faster than anyone expected. Homes that once sold in days are now sitting for weeks, with inventory surging more than 60% in markets like San Diego. Buyers have vanished overnight, and sellers are slashing prices just to get attention. Mortgage rates near 7% mean average payments are thousands higher than most families can afford, forcing households to the sidelines. Meanwhile, insurance premiums, job cuts, and economic uncertainty are piling on even more pressure. Today, we'll break down the numbers most experts won't talk about and reveal the 10 California cities already facing a brutal reset. Stay tuned, you'll want to see which markets are falling the fastest. Number 10, Bakersfield. Picture this. California's last affordable city is no longer affordable. Welcome to the new reality hitting Bakersfield harder than anyone expected. For years, this Central Valley hub served as the state's pressure valve, where teachers, nurses, and young families could still achieve homeownership without breaking the bank. Those days are officially over. Home values here averaged $385,000 just 18 months ago. Today, they're sliding backward at 1.7% annually, and that's just the beginning. The real shocker? Inventory has exploded 48% year over year. Homes that once sold within days of listing now sit empty for weeks, collecting dust and price cuts. Walk through any neighborhood and you'll see the signs. Literally. For sale signs are multiplying like weeds, and 35% of them sport fresh price reductions. Open houses that used to draw lines of eager buyers now echo with empty hallways and nervous sellers making small talk with their agents. The math is brutal for everyone involved. At 7% mortgage rates, monthly payments on an average home now exceed $2,800. That's crushing for a city where most households earn under $60,000 annually. Add rising gas prices, stubborn inflation, and insurance costs that doubled after recent wildfire seasons, and you've got a recipe for market disaster. The ripple effects are everywhere. Agriculture and oil jobs, Bakersfield's economic backbone, are under pressure from automation and environmental regulations. Young professionals are looking out of state for better opportunities. Even the rental market is cooling as investors pull back, with some landlords choosing to sell rather than deal with declining returns. Number 9, Ventura. Paradise has a price, and in Ventura County, that price is falling fast. This coastal gem, famous for surf culture and small-town charm just an hour from Los Angeles, is discovering that even oceanfront dreams aren't immune to economic reality. The numbers paint a picture that would make any homeowner nervous. Median prices hover around $820,000, just 0.4% this year. But analysts predict that tiny gain will soon turn negative as market forces intensify. Housing inventory has surged 41% across the county, with homes sitting idle in markets that once moved at lightning speed. Time on market is climbing steadily, particularly in Oxnard and Camarillo, where sold signs used to appear within days. Nearly 1/3 of all listings are seeing price reductions. Buyers aren't just being picky, they're being strategic, knowing they hold the cards for the first time in years. With mortgage rates near 7%, monthly payments on a median home now hit $5,600 before factoring in property taxes and insurance. That's before we talk about the insurance crisis hitting coastal properties like a tsunami. Some homeowners are watching their insurance premiums jump 20 to 30% year over year. Wildfire risk, flood zones, and climate change concerns are making carriers either flee entirely or price coverage beyond most families' reach. This adds hundreds, sometimes thousands, to monthly housing costs, further crushing affordability for buyers already stretched thin. Ventura still looks like paradise from the outside, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll find a market in transition. If rates remain elevated and buyers continue sitting on the sidelines, this coastal jewel could face a much chillier 2025 than anyone wants to admit. Number 8, Riverside. The Inland Empire was supposed to be different. As Los Angeles real estate prices reached astronomical heights, Riverside offered hope, suburban space, newer construction, and prices that didn't require trust fund money. But 2025 is teaching everyone a harsh lesson about market gravity. Even the affordable alternatives aren't immune to economic forces. Home values recently peaked around $575,000, representing a staggering 40% increase during the pandemic years. That growth seemed sustainable when remote work was permanent and buyers fled expensive coastal markets for space and value. But now, with return-to-office mandates spreading and economic uncertainty growing, that same growth story is reversing course dramatically. Prices have dropped 2.5% year over year, with analysts predicting significantly more pain ahead. The real shock comes from inventory numbers, up 50% compared to last year. Homes that once sparked bidding wars among desperate buyers now languish on market for over a month, with 36% of listings carrying price cuts that grow deeper each week. At 7% interest rates, a typical home requires monthly payments of $4,300 before taxes and insurance. That's a crushing burden for families who moved here specifically seeking affordability. Many buyers are discovering that affordable California real estate is still expensive compared to other states, especially when factoring in commute costs, higher utilities, and California's tax burden. Pandemic-era investors are fleeing faster than rush hour traffic on the 10 freeway. Many bought properties sight unseen during the frenzy, banking on continued appreciation. Now they're dumping homes at losses rather than continuing to bleed money on negative cash flow properties. This flood of investor selling is adding to inventory pressures and pushing prices down further. If current trends continue, Riverside's real estate glow could fade permanently in 2025, potentially signaling broader trouble for California's inland markets that were supposed to be recession-proof. Number 7, Stockton. History has a way of repeating itself, and nowhere is that more terrifying than in Stockton. This Central Valley city became ground zero during the 2008 housing crash, watching home prices get cut in half while the entire city was forced into bankruptcy. The scars from that devastation never fully healed, and now ominous warning signs are flashing again. Median home prices recently peaked around $480,000, a remarkable recovery from the post-crash lows. But that recovery is now under serious threat, with values dipping 3% and accelerating downward. This might sound modest, but anyone who lived through Stockton's last crash knows how quickly modest declines can become devastating collapses in this volatile market. Inventory has shot up over 45% year over year, transforming sellers' market dynamics overnight. Homes are lingering on market much longer, with days on market jumping from 27 to a protracted 44. 38% of listings are marked down, almost double the national average. Sellers aren't just being optimistic with pricing, they're becoming genuinely desperate. Open houses that once bustled with competing buyers now feature awkward silences and aggressive price negotiations. The energy that drove Stockton's recovery has completely evaporated. The fundamental problem is economic. Stockton significantly benefited from Bay Area spillover during the pandemic as remote workers sought space and affordability. But as companies mandate office returns and remote policies fade, that crucial pipeline of buyers is disappearing. Add 7% mortgage rates and tougher lending requirements, and potential buyers are simply priced out of the market entirely. While it's not a total collapse yet, every indicator points towards significant trouble ahead. 2025 may be the year Stockton's recovery story becomes a cautionary tale about California housing bubbles. Pause for a second. Tap subscribe so you don't miss what's next. The biggest housing shocks are just ahead. Number 6, Los Angeles. The City of Angels is experiencing a real estate reckoning that's shaking its foundation from Hollywood Hills to Venice Beach. Los Angeles has always represented the ultimate California dream. Palm-lined streets, celebrity sightings, and real estate that seem to defy gravity. But behind the glamorous facade, the housing market is unraveling with frightening speed. Median home prices across Los Angeles County still hover around $850,000, but they're sliding steadily downward, with some neighborhoods experiencing 2 to 4% price drops year over year. On nearly million-dollar homes, even a modest 2% decline represents $17,000 in lost value. Serious money that's evaporating from homeowner wealth. The inventory explosion tells the real story. Housing supply has skyrocketed 50% year over year, creating a buyer's market that hasn't existed in over a decade. Sellers are slashing prices like desperate Black Friday retailers, with over 40% of listings carrying reductions, nearly double the figure from just 2 years ago. This isn't limited to ultra-expensive enclaves either. Mid-tier neighborhoods like Northridge, West Adams, and Eagle Rock are cooling rapidly. Mortgage math is brutal for everyone involved. With 30-year fixed rates stuck near 6.8 to 7%, monthly payments on an average Los Angeles home now exceed $5,500 with 20% down. That's a sharp increase from $3,800 just a few years ago, effectively pricing out entire segments of would-be buyers who once drove market demand. Los Angeles still projects glamour and attracts worldwide attention, but its housing market fundamentals are flickering like a dying neon sign. Rising costs, fewer qualified buyers, and mounting inventory could transform the city of dreams into California's biggest real estate cautionary tale in 2025. Number 5. San Jose. Silicon Valley's crown jewel is losing its luster, and the implications stretch far beyond California. San Jose, once the undisputed king of tech-fueled real estate appreciation, is experiencing a reality check that's sending shockwaves through the entire industry. When the heart of innovation country starts struggling, everyone should pay attention. Median home prices peaked at an astounding $1.4 million, representing the kind of valuation that made international headlines and sparked nationwide debates about housing affordability. But those peak prices are now history, with values falling 1.2 to 2% year over year and further softening predicted as market conditions deteriorate. The fundamental drivers have shifted dramatically. Massive tech layoffs at giants like Google, Meta, Apple, and dozens of smaller companies have eliminated thousands of high-paying jobs that traditionally drove housing demand. At 7% mortgage rates, a $1.4 million home costs over $9,200 monthly before property taxes, insurance, and homeowners association fees. Even for high-earning tech professionals, this represents a crushing financial burden that many are no longer willing to bear, especially when they can buy equivalent or better homes elsewhere for half the cost. Housing inventory has increased 35%, transforming market dynamics overnight. Homes that once garnered 10-plus offers within days now sit for over a month without serious interest. About 30% of listings are seeing price cuts as sellers adjust to new reality where buyers hold negotiating power for the first time in years. San Jose won't experience a total collapse thanks to its deep wealth cushion and continued innovation economy. However, the market is undeniably correcting in ways that seemed impossible just 2 years ago. For buyers who've been priced out of Silicon Valley for years, 2025 might represent the first real opportunity to enter this previously untouchable market at reasonable prices. Number 4. Oakland. Oakland's transformation from San Francisco's scrappy younger sibling to a legitimate real estate powerhouse is reversing course with stunning speed. This East Bay city, which offered similar bay views and better weather at lower prices, became a darling during the remote work boom. But in 2025, that party is definitively over, and the hangover is severe. Median home prices have crashed to $767,000, representing a dramatic 6% decline from last year, a massive drop, especially following the fervent 2021 boom. This isn't just a minor correction, it's a fundamental reset that's catching many homeowners and investors completely off guard. Safety concerns continue plaguing certain neighborhoods, despite ongoing revitalization efforts. Rising commercial vacancies and slower economic growth make buyers increasingly cautious about long-term investment prospects. The optimism that drove pandemic-era purchasing has been replaced by skepticism about Oakland's trajectory. Monthly payment math is devastating for most potential buyers. 7% mortgage rates on a $767,000 house translate to $5,400 monthly payments, which remains out of reach for the vast majority of local residents. This pricing disconnect between what homes cost and what people earn creates artificial demand ceilings. Housing inventory has surged 50% while homes linger on market much longer than historical norms. Over 40% of listings carried price cuts in early 2025, indicating widespread seller desperation. This isn't limited to struggling neighborhoods either. Gentrified areas like Temescal and Rockridge are experiencing similar pressure. This isn't just a minor market correction, it's a fundamental reset for Oakland's housing landscape. The city finds itself among California's most vulnerable major markets in 2025, teetering closer to a serious crash than many residents and investors realize. Number 3. Sacramento. The city's remarkable pandemic success story is becoming a cautionary tale about real estate bubbles and market gravity. The state capital transformed from a sleepy government town into a red-hot destination as Bay Area buyers fled high prices for space and relative affordability. But that transformation is now reversing with concerning speed. Home values peaked around $540,000 after an astounding 40% surge from 2020 to 2022. Bay Area transplants drove unprecedented demand, creating bidding wars and pushing prices beyond what local incomes could sustain. Now, reality is setting in as that artificial demand evaporates. Current median prices hover around $495,000, down 2.5% from last year and falling. Housing inventory has surged an alarming 46% since 2024, transforming sellers' market dynamics overnight. Homes that once sparked fierce competition now sit for over a month, while 36% of listings carry price cuts. The affordability crisis extends beyond just purchase prices. At nearly 7% mortgage rates, median homes require $3,800 monthly payments, simply too much for families earning typical Sacramento wages. The government and healthcare jobs that drive the local economy cannot generate the wage growth seen in tech cities, leaving buyers priced out. Tax and insurance cost increases add additional pressure. Many first-time buyers who stretch budgets to leave the Bay Area are discovering that Sacramento homeownership isn't as affordable as it appeared on paper. Skyrocketing utility costs and ever-present wildfire insurance risks create ongoing financial stress. Sacramento won't experience a crash like 2008, but its real estate market is absolutely resetting after unsustainable pandemic gains. For patient buyers, 2025 might offer the best opportunities in years, but sellers face a much more challenging environment than anyone expected. Number 2. San Diego. America's finest city is discovering that even paradise has its price limits. San Diego has long represented the ultimate California lifestyle. Perfect weather, beautiful beaches, and a thriving economy that seemed to support endless real estate appreciation. But 2025 is teaching harsh lessons about market fundamentals and affordability constraints. Median home prices of $875,000 still reflect years of relentless gains, but we're finally witnessing real decline after what seemed like unstoppable growth. Values have dropped 2.1% in the past year, and conditions suggest worse may come if mortgage rates remain stubbornly elevated. The inventory explosion tells the complete story. Housing supply has surged 61% year over year, with over 6,000 homes for sale compared to under 4,000 last year. This represents a fundamental shift from scarcity to abundance that's catching sellers completely unprepared for new market realities. Nearly 40% of listings now carry price cuts, while days on market exceed 40, a stark contrast to just 2 years ago when homes sold within 10 days of listing. The frenzied competition that characterized pandemic buying has been replaced by patient shopping and aggressive negotiation as buyers recognize their newfound leverage. Affordability fatigue is reaching breaking points across all income levels. 7% mortgage rates mean $6,100 monthly payments, even for dual-income households earning well above regional averages. With average local income hovering around $85,000, the math simply doesn't work for most potential buyers. The job market cooling adds another concerning layer. Technology-adjacent sectors and tourism, two major economic drivers, are experiencing slower growth and some contraction. New short-term rental restrictions are scaring off Airbnb investors who help drive demand in popular neighborhoods near beaches and attractions. The psychological shift is perhaps most important. For years, San Diego was considered crash-proof, the city everyone wanted to move to thanks to unbeatable climate and lifestyle. Now reality is setting in that even paradise must follow economic laws of supply, demand, and affordability. Number 1. San Francisco. The tech capital of the world, home of billion-dollar startups and seven-figure salaries, is experiencing its most dramatic real estate correction in decades. San Francisco, the city that redefined what expensive housing meant in America, is now leading California's housing market collapse in ways that seemed impossible just 3 years ago. Median home prices have plummeted to $1.12 million, down $40,000 from 2024, a painful 3.5% slide that represents real wealth destruction for hundreds of thousands of homeowners. Some condo markets and fringe neighborhoods are experiencing even deeper declines as buyer flight accelerates. The fundamental drivers supporting San Francisco's sky-high valuations have eroded systematically. Ongoing tech layoffs at giants like Google, Meta, Twitter, and dozens of smaller companies have eliminated tens of thousands of high-paying jobs. Remote work policies mean former residents can now buy larger homes in Austin, Miami, or Denver for the same price as a small San Francisco apartment. At current mortgage rates, A $1.12 million home requires $7,500 monthly payments before homeowners association fees, property taxes, and insurance. Even for high earners, this represents crushing financial burden that many are no longer willing to bear, especially when alternatives exist outside California. Housing inventory has exploded 43% in a single year, completely transforming market dynamics. Homes that once garnered 10+ offers now sit for 45 to 50 days without single bids. More than 35% of listings are discounted as sellers adjust to new reality where buyers hold complete negotiating power. San Francisco won't collapse completely. It remains a global innovation center with deep cultural and economic assets. But the shine has definitively come off its real estate market. For the first time in decades, buying here feels negotiable rather than desperate. If you've waited years for opportunity, 2025 could finally be your moment. The California housing crash isn't coming, it's here. From San Francisco's $40,000 price drops to Stockton's inventory surge, the Golden State is facing a correction that will reshape real estate for years. For buyers, this could be the best opportunity in over a decade, but timing the bottom is risky. Sellers face tough choices too: price realistically or risk deeper losses as carrying costs mount. Investors should also consider diversifying beyond California, where high costs and volatility make safer markets look far more attractive. This crash is only beginning, and staying informed could save you thousands. Subscribe now and hit the bell for every update. Which California city shocked you most? Are you waiting to buy or deciding when to sell? Drop a comment below. I rate everyone, and your insights help guide future videos. The California dream is changing fast, and we're documenting it together.